Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to yet another broadcast of Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry. I am Chocelia Cookie Payne, your founder of Pain and Glory Incorporated, and the administrator of this particular group in this particular setting and this particular mission, Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry. As we do every week, listen, we've got a great topic on tonight. We've got a great guest on tonight. Listen, go ahead and share. Go ahead and tell others that we are on because, listen, this is going to be not only a necessary conversation, this is going to be one that is going to be helpful and healing. This is one, listen, if we're being honest, it's one that we're not talking about, but we need to because it's affecting more people than we know, right? And so tonight, I'm honored to have with us a special guest with us. Oh my goodness. I met this young lady, I want to say it's been 5 years now. We serve on the same board, and I'm going to give you a quick bio of her. But our initial meeting, I'm telling you, just a precious, sweet person, an individual with a heart of gold. And so I'm honored to have with me sharing on tonight my sister, Rosemary Graham. Let me give you guys just a little bit about Rosemary, and then I'm going to formally introduce her, and then we're going to dive in. But in the meantime, in the between time, go ahead and share. Go ahead and tell people I'm monitoring. Hello, Sister Lauren. I'm monitoring our comments as they're coming in. Thank you all for joining in. Listen, we are elated because we're talking about something that is important. We're talking about chronic illness, depression, and mental health. And we're hearing a testimony of strength in God's grace. Listen, Rosemary Graham is a native of South Bend, Indiana. She attended and received a BS degree at Oakwood University in 1974. In the summer of 1978, now pay close attention to what I'm about to share with you. In the summer of 1978, she moved to Atlanta. Woo-hoo! In 1984, she was diagnosed with lupus and pulmonary fibrosis. 37 years. For 15 years, Rosemary served as an active volunteer, patient advocate, minority outreach coordinator, and board member with the Lupus Foundation of America, Georgia chapter, and board advisory member of the National Black Women's Health Initiative and Black Women's Health Study, Boston and Howard Universities. Listen, she is well versed in what we're talking about on tonight. Listen, she has received several awards to include the NAD Disabilities Ministries Lifetime Achievement Award, the Southern Union Service Appreciation Award, Distinguished Service Award, Lupus Foundation of America, Coordinator of the Year Award. How about that? North America Division of Seventh-day Adventist Disability Commission. But check this out, guys. If that's not enough of showing her heart and of servitude, she also is certified in the following: board certified mental health coach. She is a certified Fresh Hope mental health coach. She's a certified leader, disability ministry. She is an associate director of depression and anxiety recovery program. Listen, she's a certified member of the youth mental health. Let me try my new mouth. She's certified in youth mental health first aid. Woohoo! And listen, she's a certified leader. Our Journey of Hope Cancer Care Ministry. Listen, Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Today, Rosemary serves as a member of the North American Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Disabilities Advisory Committee, volunteer with the Southern Union Disabilities Ministries, Disability Ministry Director for South Atlantic Conference, Disability Link member and member of the Atlanta Faith-Based Mental Health Initiative, of which we both serve as board members. Listen, she attends the Atlanta Boulevard Seventh-day Adventist Church right here in Atlanta. Her favorite scripture is 1 Peter 5:10. And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. I introduce to you and present to some, listen, my sister in service, Rosemary Graham. Rosemary, thank you so much for, this is a long time coming. This has been building up, but this is the time. And thank you for being here.
You know, I know that God always has everything lined up. And when you were talking, I'm like, who is she talking about? I couldn't figure out, like, wait, was that me?
Yes, indeed.
I'm just an humble servant. Trust me, I'm
Yes,
just an
ma'am.
humble
That,
servant.
if nothing else, your bio speaks that. Your bio says servant from the time you read off your name to the close of the bio. Your name says servant. So listen, let's dive into it, because this is something. This is important. And if you don't mind, I wanna before we dive into your testimony of strength, because you have a powerful one. I want to back up a little bit. Well, before we get into it, I want to share what you shared with me really quickly, because I want that to be in the forefront. I want people to see that first, and then have a backdrop to what you're going to be sharing, if you will. So let me share with you guys. I'm going to put it on the screen, and Rosemary, you just tell me how you want me to navigate it for you. So what we have here is an infographic. Let me move it a little bit. And then as I said, Rosemary, you just tell me how fast or how slow to go. So I'm going to move it up a little bit.
I want you to stop at chronic pain.
Okay.
And I want people to pay attention to the number. And that's 50 million. And I will tell you later why I'm asking people to pay attention to that number, 50 million.
Keep going?
Yes, keep going. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Keep going. Scroll up a little bit more and stop.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes. Again, what we're looking at now, what we saw before were numbers of people that have been diagnosed with certain conditions. What we're looking at now is people that took screening for mental health, and what the numbers were in terms of those that were at high risk or actually had a mental health disorder. So when you're talking about mental health and chronic illness, 73% of people that had cancer said that at one time they may have had some form of depression or anxiety. We're also looking at the number of heart disease, the number of chronic pain. I'll talk about the chronic pain, the diabetes. Some of these are familiar with people. Some of these they are familiar with in terms of how they feel, and especially the mind and the body connection. But this really confirms and seals actually what we're talking about today. So you can go ahead and scroll on up.
Okay.
And stop. And at the bottom it tells you how to take care of yourself, when you're dealing with a chronic illness and mental health, because the two actually are linked and connected together.
Right.
More so. Okay. And of course, you can always share your experiences with For Mind, For Body.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So I thought that visual was helpful to share, just to kind of give the backdrop for what you're going to share. And so in your bio, you talked about what, 37 years.
Mhm.
So walk us through that. Walk us through, although I read a snippet, you can tell us what, walk us through this when we talk about chronic illness, mental and depression and mental health. And we're talking about this testimony of strength and grace. Tell us about it.
And before I talk about my experience of being diagnosed with lupus and interstitial lung disease, I actually have to go back to when I was a teenager, because now as a mental health advocate, I am, of course, we are now aware of the fact that whatever happens in your childhood can affect you in your teen years and in your adult years. Um,
Yes,
as
ma'am.
much as I love my family, we all came from, sometimes most of us came from dysfunctional, functional families. And I did have two parents in the household, but it was a loud household. There was a lot of fussing and cussing and fussing. There was a lot going on. And I had low self esteem. I was overweight. I was bullied at school. Some of the friends at church had kind of isolated themselves from me. And I found myself thinking that the world would be a better place without me. And the more I was bullied, and the more I was rejected, and the more I was teased, and the more I was fussed at home, the more I kept thinking, eh, I'm out. So one day it was one evening rather. I was 15 years old. I went downstairs to the bathroom because my bedroom was upstairs. I went to the bathroom, which was nothing new. Um, I went in the medicine cabinet and I grabbed three bottles and I just shook pills in my hand and finished. And I went back upstairs and I did not eat dinner that night. I wasn't talking to my parents. I wasn't really engaged with anybody or anything. I withdrew from my friends. I was starting to withdraw from my friends and starting to withdraw. I wasn't talking to anybody on the phone. And of course, back then we did not have cell phones and internet. So, you would dial an actual telephone when you could get on it. And I went upstairs and I said, okay, God, um, I'll see you in a minute. I'm done. They'll be better off without me. And I swallowed all the pills.
Wow.
Well, Cecilia, I can't tell you what happened except for the fact that 3 days later I woke up. I mean, I woke up the next afternoon for a second, and then I went back to sleep. And then
Wow.
I woke up again, and I went back to sleep. And now that I look back on it, I would almost say that in some form or fashion, I was having the Elijah experience. Remember after he had, had the showdown with Ahab and the gang, and then Jezebel tells him, before the sun goes
Sun goes
down,
down. Yeah.
I got your head.
Right.
And he runs into the wilderness. He said, God, this is enough. Take my life.
Yeah.
God didn't fuss at him.
No.
God didn't tell him, man, you just. God didn't say
Yep.
any of that. He let him rest and he slept.
Yeah.
I kind of feel almost kind of like that experience because, again, my mother came upstairs. I wouldn't eat. I wasn't saying much to her. I wasn't saying much to my dad. So they got one of my girlfriends to come and pick me up. And she was like, You're going to get dressed. You're going to go. I did not get dressed. I hadn't shaved. I mean, not shaved. I hadn't washed or anything like that. But, mom was like, Okay, you're going to go with her. Okay, I'll go. And I eventually, when we were in the car, I told her what I had tried to do. And of course, she screamed and she almost ran into a tree. And, she kept hitting me and stuff and telling me, we need you, we need you. And I think at that point, that was the first time that I ever felt that I had some type of value, that I was supported, and that I did have a few friends. I did have a few friends, but I had connected from them because in my mind I thought that I wasn't good enough.
Right.
And and From that point on, I did okay. I finished high school. I went to college. I went to Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama. Yo, all my Oakwood, Oakwood. It's a historical Black college. And when I was there, I would probably say that I would have some bouts of depression, but not as much
Hmm.
because at that age I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in my life and where I was going to go, and I kept saying, okay, there's more to life than Notre Dame and South Bend, and okay, I got to get out. Sorry, gang, I love y'all at home, but so I moved to Atlanta, and I moved specifically the winter after we had the snow. We had 5 feet of snow, and we had an ice storm before that, and we had bitter cold of 60 below zero before that. So I kept saying, there's got to be warmer places in this country. There's got to be warmer places in this
Ooh,
country.
yes.
So I moved to Atlanta and I started working at a computer firm. And I started noticing that I was getting tired. And there was a big event that we had one weekend, and I was coughing a lot. And I always had respiratory problems. Even when I was a child, at 9 years old, I remember having a fever of 105, and my parents stripping me down and throwing me into a tub of cold water
Yep.
and slathering me down with Vicks vapor rub, and then, you know, putting all the covers on me and trying to sweat it out. So I always had respiratory problems. And once again, I started having respiratory problems when I got here. I always had a bad case of the flu, a bad cold. Um, and one summer, I had bronchitis. I had sinobronchitis. I had a sinusitis. And then
Mhm.
for the summer, I was fine. And then in that fall, I got sick again. And I was so sick, one of my friends called me and she said, "No, I'm taking you to the doctor." And it was on a Thursday, and the doctor's office was actually open late. And they were actually able to see me that day, that evening. They had a small window. Somebody had just canceled. When I got there and they did the x-rays, the nurse and two doctors walked in the room and said, "You have double pneumonia. We
Wow.
need you to, we need you to go to the hospital right now."
Wow.
So I had ended up going to the hospital right then. I was in the hospital a week. They gave me the medications and the penicillin and all of that. And I got out, and I thought it would have gotten better, but I really, really didn't. And so I went to see a rheumatologist, and then I started seeing the specialist, and they sent me to a pulmonologist, and he started running tests. And right at that time, as the tests were being finished, it was a holiday, it was Thanksgiving. And on Thanksgiving Eve, I was supposed to be at home because I was supposed to make the broccoli and rice casserole. I was supposed to make the sweet potato souffle. And I used to make the best refrigerator rolls. So those are my assignments for the meal. But instead, I'm at the bus stop getting ready to go to the doctor's office. So when I get into the doctor's office, he walks in and he says, "Miss Graham, your test results have come back and you have systemic lupus with interstitial lung disease." I had no idea what that was. I didn't know what was going to happen. I
Right.
just I just felt that, okay, this is it. I'm going to die.
Wow.
There was a lady I used to sing in the choir. I used to be a true first soprano soloist. I was singing all the time, always singing for church, and was always in choirs and groups. And there was a lady in our choir that had lupus, and there was another lady, whose daughter had lupus, and somehow I had a oh that's right, no, no, I got it back. I had a good friend from school that had lupus, but she died, and everybody was saying that if you have lupus, you only have 5 years.
Wow.
And so when I went back for a follow up with the doctor, I'm in his office, I'm bawling, I'm like, I only got 5 years. And the one thing that he said that I still remember to this day is he said, "Miss Graham, if you think you have 5 years, then you have 5 years." He said, "Now, I want you to get that out of your mind. and I want you to get that out of your system. We will do the best that we can, and you will do the best that you can. And he said, people have lived longer than 5 years, but it's up to you.
Right.
And so I was like, okay. So I started taking the medication and the penicillin, the prednisone. And this is what I didn't understand, but the prednisone, I was taking 100 milligrams of prednisone, and that's overdosage of steroids. Everything was going out of system, out of whack, but the medication really wasn't working. So I started going back to have tests and more tests. And then I was diagnosed with a rare disorder called polymyositis, which is mini muscle arthritis. Again, they increased the dosage for the prednisone and other medications. At one time, I was on either 10 or 12 different medications a day.
Wow.
Just that many pills. I The handful of pills that I took when I was 15, I'm now taking to save my life.
Wow.
The handful of pills that I had in my hand at 15 to take my life, now at 30 and 31 and 32, I'm trying to save my life.
Wow.
And so I ended up going to see the rheumatologist, and he and I were back and forth. I was always in his office. And finally he said, there's a study going on in at Bethesda at National Institutes of Health for people that have polymyositis and lupus. And it's a double-blind study. And I want you to go. And they did the paperwork, and I was there for the whole summer of 88, I think. Um, and they took they put these huge needles in both my arms, and in the left arm they drew the blood out. It went through a machine. I guess it was cleaned or whatever they did, and then they put
Okay.
it back in my right arm. That's similar to now what they're doing for people that have COVID as a last resort. They're doing what they call it. I think it's, oh, I forgot the name of it. It's something oxygenation, where they're
Okay.
actually where they're trying to clean the oxygen and the blood. Well, that kind of sort of worked, but it really didn't work. So they sent me back home to be put on chemotherapy drugs, and that's not uncommon for people that have chemotherapy drugs.
You answered the question that popped in my head when you said that. Is that a common occurrence? But you just answered that question. Okay, I'm sorry.
And the odd thing was back during that time, there really wasn't a lot of medications to treat lupus. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, the medication that we were taking were not directly designed to treat lupus. It was designed for something else. So all those 10 pills that I was taking, none of them were directly going to help lupus. It would help something else, but oh, let's try this. So I always felt like I was a guinea pig.
Right.
But when I got back home, with all of everything that had gone on, it started crashing in on me, emotions. And even though, I was at one time I was choir director, and I was all these different things. I had a lot of losses. I lost my job. The job that I was working at was a computer firm, and I was at that time I was making decent money. But they let go of everybody on leave, and that included me. And they did it with they said it was a permanent leave with the possibility that you might come back, but that I never did. And I lost my apartment, I lost my car, I ended up having to stay with friends, and all of everything that I lost. That's when I started back into losing what I thought was losing myself. I didn't understand what was going on. I was very confused. Um, I was very sad and very solemn, because it's kind of like you feel like you're in between life and death, because I was seeing so many doctors, and there would be times that I would go to bed at night and I didn't think I was going to wake up in the morning. Literally taking all the medications, between my breathing, my lungs. As you can tell now, I'm on oxygen. I've been on oxygen 9 years, but we're talking about 30 some years ago with respiratory issues. And my depression, I started becoming depressed again. And I actually started having suicide ideations again. But it was different this time because I said, that is not what God wants me to do. But I was so distraught. And the people around me, some of them did not understand the situation, specifically the church members. So they were telling me I was sick because of my sins. I didn't have enough faith. Was I faithful in paying my tithe? What had I been eating? Oh, you come up with all the strange things. No, take nothing but echinacea. No, 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 don't take that. No, 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 take golden seal. I remember my mother and some friends of the church sent me a box full of teas. And back then I was a reader and I read Back to Eden. They had in the box two teas that, if they were taken together, could become toxic and will kill you within a matter of time.
Wow.
I sent it back to them and I'm like, y'all are really trying to kill me now.
Wow.
If I wasn't trying to do it, now y'all trying to do it. And so I had all this coming at me with all the losses that I had. Everything was weighing on me. And I remember one day feeling so distraught that I went to the doctor and I told him, I said, I'm I had enough sense, Chelsea, to call the doctor and say, I need help. And I went to him and I said, I want to, I'm looking at this pole to see how I can just slam into it and make one pill do.
Right.
I said, or I'm looking at taking every pill of all these 10 bottles. And you guys would think, okay, well, she died because I was overweight again. When I was diagnosed with lupus, I was losing weight, but that was because of the illness. But with the
Right.
prednisone,
With the steroids. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, I'm looking at a chest of girl going, they said there was cherry in there. And I was just so, my emotions were raw, literally raw. And I told the doctor, I said, I'm trying to figure out how I can kill myself without killing myself. And he looked at me and he said, sit right there. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Don't move. I said, okay. I'm sitting in his office crying, crying. He comes back and he gives me a sheet of paper with an address on it. He says, I need you to go here right now. I need you to go see this lady. She is a counselor. He said, we're giving you 20 minutes to get to the office. It takes that long to get from my office to her office. When you get to her office, call us and let us know that you made it.
Wow.
If you do not call us, we will send somebody to your house. Okay. So I went and I talked with her, but I don't know if Chelsea, if anybody's ever told you this, or sometimes when you're trying to hide what's going on with you, all of a sudden you'll put on this Emmy Award performance like, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine. It's just the
Yeah. Yeah.
medication and it's just
Mm-hmm.
the things that are
Everything's
going
fine.
on. Everything's
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
she calls
I
the doctor
don't
and
even
said,
know why
oh,
I'm here.
yes,
I'm
that's exactly what
okay.
I said. I'm all right, girl, I'm all right. And she tells the doctor, oh, she just has a classic case of clinical depression. And I went fine for about 2 weeks. And then I called him back and I said, uh-uh. So he sent me to a psychiatrist and he put me on Prozac.
Mhm.
And I've never been one to really want to take medications anyway. I was always the natural
So
herbs
it's
teas
another
person.
medication added on.
Okay, I don't need, I'm already looking at a bunch of pills. I don't need
Right.
to take nothing else. So I remember going to the rheumatologist because I was starting to get having muscle problems and muscle pain and muscle weakness. And he tells me, he says, well, you need to find a support group. And I'm like, what's a support group? So he said, well, people, your peers that have what you have. So the first one I went to was the Arthritis Foundation. I was the youngest thing there. I was the darkest person there. And I felt like the baby of the group because they were looking at me like, "Oh, sweetie, what the matter?" but I was still so my emotions were still so raw. And it's interesting how we play the game sometimes of hiding our emotions. So when I would be out in public, like if I did make it to church, if I did go out, even among my friends, sometimes I would hide my emotions and say, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm just tired. I don't feel good. I'm having these problems,
Mhm.
blah blah blah." But on the inside, I'm crashing. And I remember telling God, if you don't do something, I don't know what's going to happen. And the rheumatologist had given me a piece of paper that said Lupus Foundation, and it said support groups. So I saw what they were having the support group. I got there late, but
Oh my. Okay. So somehow, um, let me see if we can get her back. Somehow my precious Rosemary dropped off, but we're going to see if we can get her back because I'm telling you, her story is riveting, and I want to make sure that we don't miss anything. So give us a moment and let's get her back on. Because listen, what she's sharing with us is more common than we know. We all have loved ones. It could be you who are on right now who are dealing with a chronic illness. It may not be lupus, but it could be, chronic pain. It could be fibromyalgia. It could be arthritis. It could be cancer. It could be a number of things. Fibroids, a number of things that bring on depression, that bring on these suicidal ideations. Because listen, when your body is not doing what you want it to do and operating in the way that you want it to operate, listen, it can be a frustrating place to be. So we're getting Miss Rosemary back on, but listen, take note of the things that she has shared. She's back on with us, and I want you to listen intently. Wonderful. We're back. We're so glad that
I'm
you're back
sorry.
on.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
that is no problem. I was just sharing that what you're saying is so important because we know someone or we ourselves are experiencing
Mhm.
it. We can identify and attest to the fact that having a chronic illness, no matter what it is, whether it is lupus or whatever your chronic illness is, it can take a toll on your mental, emotional health. So please continue on.
And you guys, please forgive me. I'm having some problem with Wi-Fi in my home, so I'm on my phone. So praise God for that. But like again, I said,
All is
I
well.
went to this support group meeting, and I went to this support group meeting, and I I saw the leader, and she looked at me and she said, "You're not doing good," and I said, "No," and she gave me her card and she said, "Call me." Well, I called her, and Chelselia, I went to see her, and I cried in her office and I told her everything that I was going through. And within 30 minutes, she explained to me everything that was going on in my body, everything that was going on with my system, everything that was going on with me mentally. And then she prayed with me afterwards. That was the very first time that I felt that I had hope. I felt that
I'm
I had
telling
hope.
you, therapists are amazing.
I
They
it,
are amazing.
she was a Christian psychotherapist, and and she dealt with people that had chronic illnesses. And
Wow.
and she talked
That's
about
what you need.
she talked about the fact that people that have chronic illnesses have issues with mental health. When I was doing the research and looking at this, and that's why it had you hold that number. People that have chronic pain are 2 to 3 times more likely to have a mental health disorder. And you're looking at 50 million people. And when I looked at WebMD said at least 54% of people that have chronic pain also have a mental health disorder, also have anxiety, also have depression. But then when we saw the infograph, it went up as high to 79% of 50 million people. That's
Wow.
quite a lot.
That's a lot.
And this
That's a
was
lot.
before COVID.
Oh,
This was
yeah.
before COVID. So I can't imagine now with COVID, now with COVID um, having a mental connection with it, and now we're talking about the long term effects of COVID will include depression, anxiety, and mental health disorders.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
connection between chronic illness and mental health is something that it needs to be in discussion a whole lot more, a whole lot more. I started doing,
Yes, ma'am.
I started taking antidepressants again. I started the Prozac, and I will tell you that the depression comes and goes, and it's a variety of things with depression, because depression isn't just one item. It's not just one thing that happens to us. Right now, I'm sad, and I would probably say I'm depressed. I talked to my behavioral nurse this morning because a an associate of mine that I did not that I had spoken with and talked with, who was a peer of mine that had pulmonary hypertension, she died last night, and I
Wow.
was shocked. You know, the
Wow.
fact because we hadn't seen her in a while. Oh
Wow.
yeah, the pulmonary hypertension. In 2009, with the pulmonary fibrosis and interstitial lung disease, the doctor put me on oxygen. I remember going to his office and saying, "I'm I'm not eating. I'm sucking on cough drops all day." And so he had me walk down the hall and back. When my oxygen saturation dropped from 100%, which is supposed to be no less than 95, it had dropped down to like 87, 85. So he said, "We've got to put you on oxygen." So, Chelsea, I was walking to the car and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, they're going to put me on oxygen. I got in the car and I sat down, and before the tear came out, listen to me, before the tear came out, I had turned the car on and the song came on, "It ain't over until God says it's so." And I'm like, okay, all right, God, you got me. And I told God, I said, you've got to remove the stigma of me not wanting to get out and to be in public or to go places because I've got this on.
Right.
And when the
Right.
guy got to the house, I put on the oxygen. And from the first time I stepped out the door, I never had a problem with the oxygen on. As a matter of fact, when we oxy people see other people with oxygen, how many liters are you on? What are you using? We turned it in, we turned it into a faith fest. And I do want to say this, that scripture says the poor in this world are rich in faith. And I really, really believe that, because there's a lot that I can't stand on except for the promises of God.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
even when it comes down to my health,
Yes, ma'am.
and because the doctors don't really have the cure, they don't have the answers. They're doing a guessing game, they're giving you medications. Some of these diseases, they've only read about, if they read a whole page about it, they've only read about it in a book. They never did study it in a chapter or do anything in terms of tests before.
Yes.
They're only going by, oh, yeah, I think I saw that. I don't remember, but I think it was on page. They're doing one of those
Right.
numbers.
Right.
So I have nothing to depend on but the promises of God to keep me in the midst of. And I always tell our health ministry leaders, I understand the importance of nutrition because it's very important.
Hmm.
You know, uh, nutrition is very important. And I know doctors claim that 80% of the disorders that are out there now are caused but because of bad nutrition. I wouldn't
Hmm.
say the number is as high as 80% now because of all the other factors, your environmental factors. You've got to look at your toxic chemicals. If you put, if you get dressed and comb your hair, get everything together before you drink that bottle of water, you've already put 82 chemicals in your body, and all of these chemicals have minuscule toxins in them. Anything that is scented is a toxin, and if it's minuscule, that's fine. But by the time you finish with the minuscule body wash and the body lotions and the body oils and the hairsprays and the deodorants and listen, even the Vaseline that we slather on our, on our bodies, the Japanese cherry blossom, those things that come from Bath and Body Works. By the time you get all that done and your hair gels and your hairsprays. 82 chemicals are in your body, and that minuscule is getting a little bit larger, a little bit larger, a little bit larger. So it's it's ironic how our mental health is tied in. Mind, body, and spirit. One affects the
Mind,
other.
body, and spirit.
Mind,
Absolutely.
mind,
So
body, and spirit.
I want to kind of go back to something that you said a moment ago and kind of pick up there when you were talking about when you left from seeing the psychotherapist and how it changed the trajectory of where you were headed. I like what you said because in addition to the medication, the Prozac, you had the opportunity to hear someone talk to you, listen to you, and then
Mhm.
talk to you about this is I understand your experience because it's one thing to hear the clinical side from the physicians,
Mhm.
but it's
Mhm.
another thing to hear from someone as you put it earlier who understood who works with people who have chronic illnesses who understood your vantage point. And
Yes.
I'm wondering, talk to us about a bit about that experience, how that experience has taken you going forward. Do you still see that same person, or if not the same person, the same type of person is what I'm saying. It might not be the same individual, but do you still see the same type of individual that is engaged in your mental health journey as pertains to chronic pain that you experience or chronic illness that you experience?
Sadly, Kathleen died. Her name was Kathleen Lewis, and she worked with the Lupus Foundation. She also worked with the Arthritis Foundation, and she died several years ago. But I have to give, I have to thank God for putting her in my life because she saw something that even I didn't see. Because when I started going to her and I started feeling a little bit better, and I started thinking, well, wait a minute, there is life after lupus. It hasn't taken everything. I still have something left. I got half of a glass full, half of it's gone, but half of it's still there. And the first thing she said was, I think you can help other patients by what you've gone through. And
Wow.
there was a self-help training course that we did called SLESH, which was Systemic Lupus Erythematosus Self-Help. And we did the training. And how ironic, when I went to the training, I was still broken because I remember them asking us, write down 10 things you like about yourself. I did not have one thing on the paper. And the whole class kept kept motivating me and saying, well, look at your smile, look at your eyes, look at the way you laugh, look at the way you,
Love
you,
it.
you talk to people.
I love
And
that encouragement. Yeah.
I didn't see it in myself
Yeah.
because I still had that low. Specifically, now I'm sick. Oh,
Right.
a man's not going to want me. People don't want to hang around me because they don't want to catch what I've got because they
Mm,
think it's contagious. And so it was all of that pressing in on me. But I remembered that I still had some hope. I still had some value. And there was still something left. I'm like,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
And I had to start, okay. They were like, no, 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 no. You're going to write down 10 things. It took me a whole week to finally have 10 things to write down about myself.
Wow.
But that was the beginning. And it was the beginning of me helping other people to understand the journey that they were going through that helped me lift myself up. And it's always interesting that every time I'm downtrodden, I will never forget we had a hotline when I was a volunteer at the office, and we had hotline counseling. If you called after hours, you would get one of us. And, it was for people that had lupus had been diagnosed. And this one lady called me and she was crying on the phone. I mean, she was hysterically crying. And she's like, I have lupus and I have kidney disease and I have this and I have that. And she said, and I have lung disease and I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, I'm going to die. I'm just going to die. She kept telling me I'm going to die. And right before she called me, I was depressed. Right before she called me, I was going down.
Wow.
And so I let her cry. And then I told her, I said, I really do. I feel your pain. I feel your pain. And I said, I felt the same way. And I explained to her a little bit about my story.
Hmm.
And I told her, I said, but mm, actually, if you died now, it might be from the traffic on 285. I said, or if somebody running into you because they're trying to beat the light. And she was crying, and all of a sudden she stopped and she said, huh? And I told her, I said, I'm not trying to make light of your situation. I'm just trying to put it in perspective. You do have some life left. We were on the phone for 2 hours.
Oh,
And
wow.
by the time she got off the phone, she was laughing. And she said, thank
Beautiful.
you for helping me to see that there is life after lupus and to see a different perspective.
That's
And
important. That's important. Your mindset, as you said
oh,
a little bit ago, that your mindset is so important. You said when you went it when the doctor told you if you believe you have 5 years, then you have 5 years.
yeah.
And now, fast forward, you were able to almost do the same thing for someone else. If you
Mhm,
believe that, then that's
mhm,
what you're going to have. But
mhm,
you have to know that there's still life. And for those who are watching, it may not for you be lupus. Replace lupus with whatever your thing is. There's
mhm,
life after you fill in the blank. Whatever
mhm,
your lupus is, fill in the blank. There's still
mhm,
life in you. There's still
mhm,
purpose. And if you're watching this, listen, know that you have value, you
mhm,
have you have purpose, and you're looking at living proof. You're looking at Miss Rosemary. You're looking at me. If you probably are the embodiment yourself. Those that are watching
mhm,
of what God's promises are. We cannot, as one thing I want to encourage you is to remember what Miss Rosemary said. She was encouraged and she passed it along. If you believe that, then that's what you'll have. So, what are you believing? What are you speaking? Our words, we have the power of life and death in our
mhm,
tongue. What we profess and what we believe, it manifests and it makes itself known in every aspect of our lives. Now, true enough, those things are real. Those physical maladies are real. True
mhm,
enough, those feelings of those bouts of depression or those feelings of depression or depressive state are real. Anxiety is real. These things are real, but so is faith, but so is God, but so
mhm,
is the power of your confession, but so is so many other things. So where
mhm,
there's a this is real, there's also a that is real. And so we're looking at that in
mhm.
the very embodiment of Rosemary Graham here. Miss Rosemary, as we're
Chelsea,
closing up. Yes,
Ch-
ma'am. Yes,
I got to interject this.
yes.
I'm thinking of the scripture that says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he."
So is he.
Now,
Yes.
listen. When then looking at our mental health, and looking at our thought life, 80% of our thoughts are negative. 95% of those thoughts are repetitive. So the
Yes.
80%, so the 95% of that 80% is us trying to figure it out and rehearsing the difficulty over and over and over again. I'm not going to get better. They said this. And even at night when I go to bed, I still have to fight. I have to fight that. But how do I replace the positive? Here's what I'm having to do even now when I go to bed at night and my mind starts rummaging the negative things. I ask God to do three things: put a scripture in my mind, put a song in my mind, or
Mm.
put someone's heart for me to pray for in my mind. I have woken up at 3:30 in the morning singing old hymns. I woke up one morning, 4:30 in the morning, going to the bathroom, up here singing, standing on the promises of Christ my King. I'm like, huh? Where that come from? I'm
But you
singing
asked
all
for
the
it.
old,
There's
old,
that power
old
in
songs.
what you
And
say.
And
That's what you asked for.
yes,
Yes.
yes. So yeah, like as a man thinketh in his heart, and don't and listen to us, please. The dopamine, the norepinephrine, the serotonin, those three deal with your moods, your regulations, your emotions. And when your neurotransmitters that start from the gut, because your gut is the second brain, what you put in your stomach travels up to your brain to feed the neurotransmitters and the neurons to send out the messages to different parts of your body. When that's affected, then that affects your thought life. So mental illness is a real disease, but there are ways that you can, along with the Spirit of God, help to overcome.
Amen.
Don't start me to preach.
This has been amazing. This has been wonderful. I want you, if you will, tell people how they can connect with you. What if you have something coming up? What's going on? Because I know beyond this, people are going to want to stay connected to you, and get more information from you.
Mhm.
So, how might one do that?
You can actually put my email at the bottom, which is rgraham at sacSDA.org. They can email me.
Say the
Um,
email one more time.
it's rgraham at
Mm-hmm.
sacSDA.org, which is
Okay.
South Atlantic Conference Seventh Day Adventist.org. They can email me and I will uh, contact them and give us some information. Um,
Excellent.
we also have a Facebook page, Adventist ADVENTISTS number 4 mental health, Adventist for mental health. That one is for mental health advocates, but it's also for mental health professionals. And the Lord is working with me. I will at some point in time this year be coming out with my own ministry soon. And upcoming, there is a Bible study, Troubled Minds, Mental Illness and the Mission of the Church. You can actually buy the book and the 6-session Bible study on Amazon. And the author is Amy Simpson, I think. She wrote the book Troubled Minds, Mental Health and the Mission of the Church. And so we will be doing that. And I'm doing webinars, and I'll also be doing something with the Atlanta Boulevard Seventh Day Adventist Church. You can also contact me over there at AB. The website over there is absda.org, absda.org, the website there. And also the website for my regional office is all the W's, .sacSDA.org, and click ministries and click disabilities.
Awesome. Awesome. And if you missed all of that, I've left her email address up on the screen, rgraham at sacSDA.org.
Mhm.
Listen, this has been amazing. This has been truly a blessing to have you on here with us
Yes,
to
ma'am.
share with us your story of resilience, your story of hope, your story of healing. And listen, there's still so much more to be, as you said, there's a book in you. Still so much more to be
Almost done.
told. There's
Almost
still
done.
so much to be told. Thank you so much for being a part on tonight. Listen, guys, we will be here again on next Monday night. Mark your calendars now, September 25th, 2021, 11 o'clock a.m. We will be embarking on
Mm.
our 7th annual. I don't know why I keep saying 11th. This is my second time today. Our 7th annual Pain in the Pews Mental Health and Ministry Conference. It is going to be a hybrid event. Yay! It's going to be a hybrid event.
Yay!
So we're going to have it half virtual, half in person. The in person will be a smaller gathering, so that it will be COVID friendly, but the rest will be virtual. It's going to be dynamic. We've got 5 of the most amazing speakers that are going to be a part of it.
Mm.
You don't want to miss it. Registration will be opening soon, so keep your eyes open for it. Listen, we would love for you to be a part of it. We want you to be engaged. We want you to be in the place, either virtually or live. Also, if you would like to be a blessing to Pain and Glory by donating to us, we would love to receive your donations. We have the Priscilla Bell Jackson Philanthropic Caregivers Philanthropic Fund. Our goal is to aid those that are caregivers. Especially now, we didn't know that this was going to, when we started, it started in 2019. We didn't know that there was going to be a pandemic, which was going to explode the whole caregiver game. But if you would like to donate to us, please feel free to do so via Cash App or via PayPal. Again, I can't tell you enough how, like you said a moment ago at the beginning, Sister Rosemary, is that timing is everything. And the timing of you being here on tonight was amazing. And I thank God for you. I'm appreciative for you. I'm so honored to be able to serve alongside with
Oh,
you.
girl, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. And listen, for those who are tuning in, join us next week, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we'll have another wonderful guest sharing their story, sharing information, resources, and hope. Listen, I'm 𝒆𝒓𝒐𝒏𝒚, founder of Pain and Glory Incorporated, and this particular initiative, Pain and Abuse Mental Health and Ministry. We'll see you guys on next week. Take care and God bless.
Bye-bye.